Kanse, good evening. I'm Krisanachkate. Welcome to APTN National News. Starting tomorrow, President Donald Trump will be moving forward with 25% tariffs on Canadian imports coming into the U.S. Reporter Sarah Bettens takes a look at how Indigenous businesses and leaders are bracing for the change.
As the U.S. plans to move ahead with tariffs on Canadian goods, President David Chartrand says the Manitoba Métis Federation also has a plan.
Review of all of our supply chains, where we get them from, what we're purchasing, how many are American-owned, how many are in the supply chain that's connected with American products. So we're looking at every facet of our operations.
Chartrand says the MMF has cancelled all business travel to the U.S. He's met with Manitoba Premier Wab Kinew and the business community to discuss a path forward for Indigenous business.
We have 800 businesses that are registered with the L'Oreal Capital Corporation, and we're hearing good responses from our businesses. They're all, of course, proud Manitobans and proud Métis. To look at some businesses which have some shared components with United States businesses. So that is something we have to look at very carefully, because some of their supply chains actually will affect their businesses, Métis businesses in Manitoba.
Michelle Cameron, the chair of the Manitoba Indigenous Chamber of Commerce, has also been meeting with Indigenous businesses and leaders about the impending tariffs. But as a business owner herself, she's also bracing for change.
We're trying to source Canadian-owned companies, Canadian-made products, so that we can support Canadian businesses. But it's going to impact us to some degree, because there's some suppliers, some products that we can't get from Canada, that they either are sourced overseas or they're sourced from the U.S. So we're trying to compile a list of Canadian companies and goods where we can source elsewhere outside of the U.S.
Some Indigenous businesses and organizations, like the Canadian Council for Indigenous Business, are looking at mobilizing the Jay Treaty. Since 1794, the treaty has given some Indigenous peoples born in Canada the right to freely cross the U.S. border for trade and commerce. However, Cameron says there are limits.
There's still going to be costs to ship to the U.S. There's going to be costs to bring in product from suppliers in the U.S. for us. So we can do nation business, but there will still be a financial impact depending on where we're doing our business.
In a time of uncertainty, she encourages people to support Indigenous businesses.
A lot of businesses are unsure what's going to happen, so they may be thinking, how am I going to survive this? But if we all stick together and support each other, then we're going to make it through this.
If all goes as planned, 25% tariffs will be tacked on all imports from Canada and Mexico into the U.S. starting tomorrow. Canada has not officially announced retaliatory tariffs at this time, but signaled its intention to do so in early February. Sarah Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
U.S. President Donald Trump has confirmed today Canada will be hit by tariffs by tomorrow, and that there is no room left for a deal.
But very importantly, tomorrow tariffs 25% on Canada and 25% on Mexico, and that'll start. So they're going to have a tariff. So what they have to do is build their car plants, frankly, and other things in the United States.
Meanwhile, Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister Mélanie Joly says Ottawa is ready to retaliate.
If Trump is imposing tariffs, we're ready. We are ready with $155 billion worth of tariffs, and we're ready with the first tranche of tariffs, which is $30 billion, which is already known.
The largest mining conference in the world kicked off this weekend in Toronto. The Prospectors and Developers Association of Canada, or PDAC, brings together thousands of mining executives, politicians, and investors from across the globe. As Fraser Needham reports, not everyone is on board.
On Sunday, hundreds of protesters gathered outside the Toronto Stock Exchange to share and show their opposition to the mining industry. Activist Clayton Thomas Muller said he stands in solidarity with communities across the globe. He said due to climate change, the province of Manitoba will soon become the biggest export terminal in the hemisphere.
Canada is going to start exporting all of the resources they're extracting from native lands out of the Hudson Bay, because it cuts shipping export lanes by 8,000 kilometers anywhere across Mother Earth. and Hud Bay Gold Mining and the Hudson Bay Rail in the province of Manitoba have just completed their first rare earth minerals shipment out of the port of Churchill. And Wap Canoe just announced last week that they're going to double rare earth mineral exports out of the port of Churchill. And all of the exports coming from North America are going to go right through Pugatawagan, right through my people's traditional territory. And this is colonization 2.0, folks.
The protesters then marched a few blocks to where the conference is taking place on Front Street. Meanwhile, at a press conference Monday afternoon, Chiefs of Ontario spoke of their opposition to including the Métis Nation of Ontario in mining development consultations. Temagami First Nation Chief Shelley Moore-Frappier said First Nations in the province have inherent land rights, while the MNO is trying to claim rights.
And this is what we're talking about when we're talking about the MNO versus First Nations. Because what the Métis Nation of Ontario has done is asserting themselves. So we're talking about assertions versus rights. And that's a really important distinction.
Jason Batiste of the Waban Tribal Council was more blunt.
That there are no historic Métis in our territories. There are none. They don't exist. And yet, Ontario government insists, the Ontario government policy insists that we engage with them, that the industry engage with them.
The mining conference wraps up on Wednesday. Fraser Needham, APTN National News, Ottawa.
An update now on a shootout that took place during broad daylight in Winnipeg last month. The gunshots and people running in the street with shotguns was all caught on camera. Sav Jonesa has that story.
According to a Winnipeg Police Services news release, a suspect discharged a firearm toward a residence in a Winnipeg North End neighborhood on February 19th. Individuals within the residence returned gunfire. Later that day, the police located two youths in connection to the shootout, with one suffering from a gunshot wound to his lower body. A 14-year-old male youth has been detained and charged with 3 offenses, including unauthorized possession of a firearm. On February 26th, the Winnipeg Police Services Guns and Gangs Unit initiated an investigation in response to ongoing drug trafficking and gang activity in the neighborhood. The following day, a 61-year-old male was arrested during a search warrant of the residence. He's facing 4 charges and was later released on an undertaking. A shotgun, ammunition, and drug paraphernalia are among some items seized in the search. Winnipeg police recently warned of a gang situation brewing. Sav Jonesa, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
A 14-year-old boy has been charged with second-degree murder in the death of a man in Long Plain First Nation, located about an hour and a half west of Winnipeg. On February 24th, Manitoba RCMP say a vehicle stopped at a home in Long Plain to drop off a passenger. A 14-year-old male then exited the home, confronted the 26-year-old who remained in the vehicle and accused him of stealing property and then stabbed him. The vehicle then went for help at the Long Plain detachment, where officers provided medical attention as EMS was en route. The man later died of his injuries in hospital. The 14-year-old has since been arrested and is awaiting his next court appearance. He can't be named under the Youth Criminal Justice Act. RCMP continue to investigate. A Mi'kmaq community is looking to revive their language using TikTok. That story when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. A Mi'kmaq community is reviving their language with the help of weekly classes and TikTok videos starring a puppet that is gaining quite a following. APTN's Angel Mo reports.
Kwe. Kwe. Daluisin. Daluisi Sulian.
That is Sulian, the star of Pik Tukawa, a series of Mi'kmaq language TikTok videos. They're produced weekly by Lindsay McLeod to help people learn Mi'kmaq.
People have responded really well to Sulian. I feel like he can reach all audiences, all ages, and yeah, we wanted to create something different, something people could relate to. We can make him funny, stuff like that.
McLeod is a youth coordinator of the Pictou Landing First Nation, and her team of language speakers also appear in the TikTok videos and teach youth Mi'kmaq at the community center, where Sulian stopped by.
We have to learn our language. If we don't have our language, we don't have our culture.
Selena Swallow is learning Mi'kmaq so she can speak with her family, and she is a fan of Sulian.
Granny Delusi Selena Delewi Piktuk. Sometimes I'm just really interested in the puppet, but yeah, I do like to watch them and try to understand more.
Michaela Francis says speaking Mi'kmaq is connecting her to family.
Gwe Delusi Michaela Francis Delewi Piktuk Dabuisik Jel Dabu Dabuiska Jel Dabu Desabunai. They have taught me so much over the years, and I feel very connected with my language, all because of my family and especially the teachers here in this program.
Cheryl Denny created Sulian a few years ago. He is named after Denny's grandfather to help teach the Mi'kmaq language.
This little guy here, Gizigu, he's passing our knowledge to everybody, and knowledge keepers. So Sulian's got a big job now, passing our language and culture to everybody.
After the youth language classes end this spring, McLeod plans to make more TikTok videos with Sulian and more puppets and a lot of humor.
Well, I find Native people, we do love to joke around with each other. We really emphasize that humor amongst each other, so I wanted to make it real. I wanted to make it funny. I wanted people to relate to our content, and I wanted it to be engaging and also educational.
Sulian's favorite TikTok video is when he received a Valentine's card.
Ooh, Daluet Gadu. Daluet do Gasalo Sulian Galusin. Mugajidu Weneginamuit. Edukja Wellamisk.
Pik Tukawa Mi'kmaq language videos are also on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram. Angel Moore, APTN National News, Pictou Landing, First Nation, Nova Scotia.
Cute story. Thank you, Angel. This past weekend, Saskatchewan displayed its generosity during the 49th annual TeleMiracle broadcast. Talent from across the province came together to raise millions for the Kinsman Foundation to help people with complex medical needs. APTN video journalist Rachel May was at TeleMiracle talking to staff and talent behind the scenes.
A lot of the funds that we do receive do come through the phones, and for us to be able to put on this telethon, we do rely on that.
This weekend, TeleMiracle 49 raised an impressive $5.7 million. TeleMiracle is an annual Saskatchewan fundraiser that supports the Kinsman Foundation, helping individuals with medical assistance. Jordan Kammer, chair of the Kinsman Foundation Board, says the foundation provides support for medical travel costs, including transportation, accommodations, meals, and medical equipment.
Most common would be could be scooters, walkers, ultralight wheelchairs, Yeah, and sometimes we have for power chairs for those who maybe can't propel themselves in a manual wheelchair.
This year's broadcast opened with the Vincent Massey Powwow and Drum Troupe. The group of 20 dancers and 12 drummers showcased their skills. Shelley Laliberty, Community School Coordinator, says students from all backgrounds came together to form the troupe and travel the city celebrating Indigenous culture.
So we have two different groups. So we have a junior powwow troupe and we have a senior powwow troupe. So the junior powwow troupe are the grade 4s and 5s that are new coming in. So they're a part of our group for 2 years, and then they become the teachers. So the 7 and 8s are the teachers, the instructors of the group. So this is our way for them to be mentors and leaders to give back and to give back to the communities.
In addition to Indigenous talent, one of the hosts was Michaela Montana, eTalk's first Indigenous full-time host. She says that when she got the call to join the cast, she was excited as it was a dream come true. She says she's proud to represent Indigenous people at one of Saskatchewan's biggest events.
Historically, it's not something that we always got to see on TeleMiracle. So to see that over the year, have more and more Indigenous inclusion has been really amazing.
Montana hopes Indigenous talent will continue to be represented in future broadcasts.
So, to have myself and my face included in the cast, I hope that spreads more awareness and, welcomes more people and more Indigenous people to also support TeleMiracle.
Rachel May, APTN National News, Saskatoon.
Thank you, Rachel. A number of Indigenous leaders were recently awarded for their work in the community. Those stories when we come back. Stay with us. Welcome back. It's time now for our photo of the day. Today's submission comes from Tess Potts in Piikani Nation, Alberta, who shared a picture of a crescent moon high above the orange horizon. Thanks for sharing, Tess. If you want to be featured as our next photo of the day, email your pictures to share@aptn.ca. Now let's take a look at tomorrow's weather forecast.
On the east, Fredericton 0, Charlottetown -3. Nuujjuaq -19, the Grand River -11. Val-d'Or 1, Saguenay -1. Peterborough 3, Sault Ste. Marie 3. Timmins 2, Sudbury 1. -3 in the Paw, Norway House -7. -6 in Gimli, Princess Harbour -7. -4 in Regina, Saskatoon -2. 2 in Buffalo Narrows, Larange 3. Fort Chipewyan -2, Peace River 0. Partly cloudy in Calgary 4, Red Deer 1. 10 in Campbell River, Kamloops 12. 3 in Fort Nelson, Smithers 5. Whitehorse 1, Mayo -1. -6 in Wrigley, Wati -10. Sax Harbor -19, Pawatuck -21. -22 in Baker Lake, Chesterfield -20. And Iqaluit -25, Gulick -22.
A number of First Nation performers have been recognized for this year's Governor General Performing Arts Awards. Actor Graham Greene is the recipient of the Lifetime Artistic Achievement Award for his 5 decades of work on TV shows, movies, and on stage. Greene is Oneida from Ohsweken in 6 Nations of the Grand River Territory. Sandra Laurent is another recipient of the Lifetime Artistic Achievement Award for her many years in dance as an artist, choreographer, producer, and author and founder of Red Sky Performance in 2000. Laurent is from Temagami in Ontario. And singer-composer Jeremy Dutcher will receive this year's National Arts Centre Award, a member of the Tobique First Nation in New Brunswick. The 2 times Polaris Music winner mixes classical music with the traditional songs. The award ceremony will be held later this year in Ottawa in June. Congrats to all the artists. Senator Mary Jane McCollum spent her career providing dental care to First Nations communities in northern Manitoba. Last Thursday evening, she honored 19 First Nations and Métis individuals who have made significant contributions in their communities by gifting them the King Charles III Coronation Medals. APTN Sarah Bettens was at the ceremony and brings us more.
Inside each of you resides our spirit that continues to be a source of direction, faith, and wisdom for many. You are leaders. You are change agents. And today we celebrate and uphold you as individuals who have made life better.
Senator Mary Jane McCallum selected 19 First Nations and Métis individuals in Manitoba to receive a King Charles III Coronation Medal. From artists to nurses to land-based educators, their backgrounds are diverse, but collectively, McCallum says they've contributed over 1,000 years of service at the grassroots level. They received their medals on Thursday evening at Manitoba's Government House.
When our people were kept out, we always had the right to have to come here. And now, today, you are taking over that space, you're reclaiming it, and you celebrate.
Lorraine Daniels, who comes from Long Plain First Nation, was honored for her work as the Executive Director of the National Indigenous Residential School Museum.
The work that I've done is it's both personal and professional. I'm a survivor, and that really touches my heart that I'm working in a former residential school and which is turned into a museum. So it was from a place of hurting to now to a place of healing.
Another awardee was Red River Métis community leader Lucille Bruce, who has spent 3 decades establishing initiatives for Indigenous women, children, and seniors in Winnipeg.
When I first started that work in the early 90s, there was such few culturally relevant programs and services in Winnipeg for Indigenous women and children. So I had the opportunity and the honor to establish amazing programs that provided supports in culturally relevant ways to a lot of Indigenous women and children in Winnipeg.
For Damon Johnson, the president and CEO of the Aboriginal Council of Winnipeg, giving back gives him purpose.
if I engage with younger people, I try to encourage them and think about, like, okay, so you've gone out, you've got a decent education, you got some kind of credentials. Think about how you might give back to your community.
Doris Bear rose from receptionist to health director of the Peguis First Nation. In that time, she witnessed how community leadership transformed the healthcare system.
We know our needs and wants, so we don't allow, like, the federal government, Health Canada, or Winnipeg, like, if you want to say, to tell us what to do. We know what we want. We know our own community needs.
The ceremony closed with drumming by Denny Cree awardee Victor Tazazi, joined by his father and son. As an artist, educator, and musician, his mission is helping the next generation learn and heal.
My teaching is to break that cycle, and that there's a better life, and and to do that is through our culture, through our getting back into our roots. Like I'm saying, I'm Dene. Now I know that I am Dene. I'm where there's no surface and the earth. I'm a spiritual being becoming an earth being.
30,000 Canadians will receive King Charles III coronation medals, which are distributed by government officials and organizations to recognize outstanding individuals. Sierra Bettens, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Congratulations to all the recipients. And that's your APTN National Newscast for this Monday. We're back again tomorrow for your daytime newscast. Be sure to join us then. From all of us at APTN National News, hi miigwech, kwana, masicho. Thank you for watching. We'll see you again. Ekse.